Russia rearming while the US is running low on arsenal. Trump admin begins laying off federal workers. A massive explosion at a business in Tennessee leaves several dead and more than 19 people missing. Recently declassified documents related to the JFK assassination implicate another CIA officer and exposes a CIA government within our government. All coming up next. Hi everyone, it's Friday, October 10th, 2025. Thanks for joining me for alternative news. But before I begin, a quick 30-second commercial from my sponsor. Dubby Clean Energy Drink Mix. Lots of different flavors, including a hydration blend with electrolytes. Whether you're working an overnight shift or driving long distance, no matter what the situation is, Dubby will keep you alert and awake. Dubby energy drinks are made in the USA, FDA approved, and contain no sugar, no maltodextrin, no artificial colors or dyes, and is gluten-free. Visit the website for more flavors and products. Order Dubby Energy Drink Mix online by using the video or description link and enter code UFO1 for 10% off. Up first, a massive explosion at a military facility in Tennessee. According to the headline, but this was not a military facility, it was a small business known as Accurate Energetic Systems that sold products to the military. Here's helicopter footage from this morning showing what's left of Accurate Energetic Systems. Multiple people dead, at least 19 missing. This facility did store explosives and explosive material, and then they would sell it to the military, as well as demolition companies and stuff like that. And there's about and that's the end of the footage I had. I just only had that one clip. Next, recently declassified files related to the JFK assassination reveals CIA involvement and exposes a CIA government controlling our government back in 1963. A secret government within the government, and they didn't like Kennedy, so they killed him, is basically what happened.
What surfaced this week was some travel records of a man named Bill Harvey, who was the chief of the CIA's assassination program in 1963, and who was bitter enemies with John and Robert Kennedy. And JFK researchers had always been interested in him because a CIA colleague of his said that they had seen him on a plane going to Dallas in November 1963. At the time, this man, Bill Harvey, was supposed to be the chief of the CIA station in Rome. So why was he traveling in the United States, and why was he going to Dallas? And his colleague said, I always wondered why Bill Harvey was in Dallas. Well, the records that our reporter found and published last week show that Harvey secretly obtained a credential to travel within the United States in late 1963. It doesn't prove that he went to Dallas, but it proves that he wanted the ability to travel covertly inside the United States at a time when he had no reason to be here. So given his hostility to the Kennedy brothers, this is a significant story. And we have a follow-up story coming too, which is, so how did he get this credential? He seems to have had a very high-level source within Kennedy's government at the FAA who was helping him. We don't know that he was helping him wittingly. And again, we don't know that Bill Harvey went to Dallas. But this shows that suspicions about his travel plans in 1963 and his intentions towards President Kennedy is an open question.
And I was going to say, CIA guys getting code names, that's probably par for the course, right? If you're good at what you do. And also, Mr. Morley, if you don't mind, you said Can you talk to us about why he hated the Kennedy brothers? And also, I'm reading the notes here that he was head of the CIA's assassination program.
Yes, that's why he's significant. The assassination program was called ZR Rifle, and it was started in 1960 with plans of assassinating Fidel Castro in Cuba primarily, but the CIA wanted the capacity to assassinate other foreign leaders. Bill Harvey hated President Kennedy for two reasons. Like a lot of people in the CIA, he felt that the president had abandoned the CIA trained brigade that was seeking to overthrow Castro in 1961 and was ignominiously defeated. The CIA was humiliated, and senior CIA officers like Harvey blamed the president. They felt he'd chickened out. Then, a year and a half later, Kennedy negotiates a peaceful settlement to the Cuban Missile Crisis at a time when the CIA and the Pentagon, most of the leaders of the CIA and the Pentagon, wanted to invade. And so they felt the common feeling was Kennedy had chickened out again. And in fact, the reason Bill Harvey was sent to Rome was because he got into a screaming match with Robert Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis and cursed him out in a White House meeting. After that, John and Robert Kennedy told the CIA, get rid of this guy. We never want to see him again. So they transferred him to Rome, supposedly. But now we know he didn't stay in Rome. He came back to the United States and was traveling secretly. It's a significant development because this was a suspicious character. And these new documents that we have found that were just declassified by President Trump earlier this year are significant new documents that tell us, that make his actions even more suspicious than they were.
And the world just looks so much different there in that old footage there, as you saw that some of that original footage from back in 1963. Last, I'm going to leave you with the first 10 minutes of The Raw Deal with Professor James Fetzer. It was recorded live earlier today at revolution.radio, and he really presents excellent news, alternative news. Have a good night, everyone.
This is Jim Fetzer, your host on The Raw Deal, right here in Revolution Radio Studio B, this 10th day of October, 2025, where I expect to be joined by co-host Paul from California, but my special guest today will be David Scorbina, who is an expert on many subjects. He spent 15 years at Dearborn, Michigan, and prior to that at the University of Helsinki, which has one of the best philosophy departments in the world, may I say. Before we get there, however, we're going to take a look at a couple of stories of international concern that I believe are going to merit our attention. Yeah, here we go. There we go. U.S. has depleted its missile supply to Ukraine. This may be why Trump is talking about tomahawks. We got tomahawks, but maybe we don't have more conventional weapons. Now it wants more fast. This is very, very troubling, of course, because the situation in Ukraine is massively bad. The Russians are beating the hell out of them. Citing low munition stockpiles, the Pentagon is urging weapon contractors to accelerate missile production, doubling or even quadrupling production rates to prepare for possible war with China. This is just ludicrous beyond belief. It does look as though when Secretary of War Haig said, well, the admirals and generals together, he was telling them, the United States is no longer play defense. Now we're going to go on the offense, which may sound fun in football, but it's ludicrous in terms of international affairs because it means the U.S. is going to become an aggressor nation, not that we haven't been for long standing. Namely, it hopes to boost production rate for 12 types of missiles it wants on hand, including Patriot interceptors, THAAD interceptors, joint air-surface standoff missiles, and the like. Yeah, well, good luck with that. It takes quite a while to get these production lines going. Meanwhile, and this is rather ominous. We have a report that Russia has transferred nukes to Venezuela. Now, I was a tad slow on the update here about this Venezuela thing, not realizing it appears to be in anticipation of attacking Iran, the Middle Eastern oil supply being cut off. We're going to want to steal oil from Venezuela. What else is new, right? So here's a report about what would happen if America found Russian nukes in Venezuela. As far as I can tell, they're entitled to have them. There may even be a secret defense pact between Russia and Venezuela. It would make sense.
In a revelation that has stunned Washington and set alarm bells ringing across the Western Hemisphere, recent intelligence leaks suggest that Russia has secretly stationed nuclear-capable weapons in Venezuela, a bold and provocative move that immediately recalls the darkest days of the Cold War. According to officials familiar with the matter, U.S. surveillance satellites and reconnaissance aircraft detected unusual activity near several Venezuelan military installations, including what analysts believe are storage bunkers and transporter launcher systems compatible with Russian intermediate-range nuclear missiles. The discovery marks a dramatic escalation in Moscow's geopolitical posture. By placing nuclear weapons just a few thousand kilometers from the U.S. mainland, Russia is signaling that it is willing to challenge Washington not only on the battlefields of Eastern Europe, but also in its own strategic backyard. The implications are profound. A new era of nuclear brinkmanship may be unfolding, and this time we will unpack what actually happened, so stay tuned.
Well, that's pretty fascinating. Because we're running all these ships down there, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Russia had provided Ukraine with the best anti-ship missiles in the world. They're unstoppable. They can sink every ship we send down there. But I was staggered when a friend shared with me a characterization of a new Russian nuclear torpedo. It operates at extreme depths. It's extraordinarily powerful. Could hypothetically take out an entire NATO fleet in 14 seconds. When I first saw this enactment, I was wondering whether it was real.
The ocean was about to witness the detonation of the most powerful weapon ever deployed underwater. Russia's Status 6 Poseidon torpedo, a 65-foot nuclear-powered doomsday weapon carrying a 100-megaton thermonuclear warhead, had been stalking NATO's largest naval exercise in decades. For 72 hours, the autonomous torpedo had remained undetected at depths exceeding 3,000 feet, its nuclear reactor providing unlimited range, while its AI guidance system tracked the movements of 47 NATO warships worth $89 billion. But at 13:47 hours, when the torpedo's proximity sensors detected the USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group directly above, 14 seconds of underwater nuclear detonation would create the largest man-made explosion in maritime history. What started as NATO's Exercise Trident Fury would end with the most catastrophic naval disaster since World War II, as a single weapon would demonstrate Russia's ability to destroy entire fleets with technology the West barely understood. How did one torpedo threaten an entire NATO fleet? What made the underwater explosion so devastating? Join me in discovering the truth behind 14 seconds that changed naval warfare forever.
Now, when I first watched this, I was in a state of utter disbelief because it appeared so authentic. Now, it turns out it's only a hypothetical reconstruction, but the threat posed by these Russian weapons is so enormous. I fear the West is just no idea what it's dealing with here. No acknowledgement that Russia is the premier military power in the world. Donald Trump keeps talking about U.S. military superiority. We know he's not the brightest bulb in the box, but I think he's also massively ignorant. It worries me. David, do you share some of those concerns that we got a president who's going to get us into a nuclear war? We're going to lose without knowing what he's doing? Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think it's really striking what we seem to be ignoring in terms of Russian capability. So it's yeah, hugely problematic. You know, obviously access to the mainland in the U.S. is potentially devastating. You know, if they can take out large military facilities, naval fleets, or major military bases, then that's gonna immediately hamper most of our projected power around the world. And if they can do that quickly, then yeah, then we really are sunk. Whether that's a bad thing or not, I'm still sort of torn. I'm pretty much kind of an anti-empire guy, So
Yeah.
in a sense, I'd like to kind of see the empire go down in its own way. I don't like to have a lot of people die, but somehow the empire's got to end here, I think.